frame of reference to start with. So, you know, if you know, unless there's any pressing questions right now, it might be a good overview. But I think spending some time on SEO would be. I have SEO by Yoast, yeah. And I don't know if there's other people who also are using that, but very strategic strategy to really be on top of that. And I'm kind of failing in a lot of categories. I have a lot of green, some yellow, and a few reds.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of follow that format. We will do an overview of the WordPress dashboard, then we'll take a look at the Divi builder, just so that people can kind of get their feet wet, and then we'll take a look at Yoast SEO as well. How does that sound, everybody? Let me know.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. I've used Yoast and I understand the red, and sometimes red is okay, but.
Yeah, that's a good thing too. Sometimes red is okay.
Christmas time.
And sometimes you can't get rid of red. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
That's true too. That's true too. Sorry, we had someone enter in last. So Aki, if you could please introduce yourself, what you're hoping to learn from today's session, and how long you've been using WordPress and Divi, that would be fantastic. And then we'll take your introduction and then go into the tutorial.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is my first WordPress meetup. I met you, Christine, in one of the Divi meetup.
Yeah.
And so I signed up, but I've been using Divi for about a year and a half. And I'm about to launch 2 of my websites. So I'm just trying to learn tricks and pointers and things that I'm still trying to figure out on my website, basically, and, you know, learn from everyone.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming from all the way. Are you in NYC or?
No, I'm in Chicago, actually. I just joined all these, you know, Zoom meetups now because we can.
Awesome. So we have a lot of our American folk here. So thank you so much for swinging by. Love it. Love it. All right, cool. So I'm going to share my screen now. And so what I'm going to do is an overview of the WordPress dashboard real quickly. And then we're going to go into the Divi builder. And then after that, we're going to touch on SEO. And I know that that's a topic that is always, it's ever changing. So I'll definitely love to hear everybody's insights on SEO. So we're definitely going to go around the room and everyone can share like their hot tip and then maybe something they're struggling with the SEO. And then I think Adam has a presentation for us. Adam, do you have the presentation ready? Yep. All right, cool. So then Adam is also going to do a presentation towards the end, and everyone's going to kind of brainstorm. And then if there are any final questions towards the end, we'll answer those. So I'm about to log into my WordPress dashboard. And so for me personally, I like my dashboard fairly clean. So I'm not a fan of having like the events thingy there or anything like that. But you can determine what happens on this main dashboard by scrolling up right to the top right-hand side where it says screen options. And depending on the plugins that you have installed, they may allow you to have boxes over here. And even depending on who your web host is, they may also have their own boxes in here. So typically, by standard, this is what the dashboard looks like. And an example of a plugin that puts a notification on the dashboard is the Instagram feed plugin. So I use the Smash Balloon Instagram feed plugin. I find it super easy to install, very easy to utilize, and show an Instagram feed very fast, but it will show a notification on the dashboard. And that's something that's specific to that particular plugin. I know other plugins also may show notices on the dashboard, but that's what you see as an overview. Then WordPress has this section here, which it gives you a couple of pointers, a couple of links to do more things and further extend your WordPress website. It links to the customizer. It has like maybe editing your front page, adding more pages and other things within the WordPress ecosystem. If you scroll down next, we then have the events widget, and this is where the de facto WordPress meetups show up. So the Brampton WordPress meetup, whenever it's coming close, you will see it in here if you are in or around the Brampton area or whichever locale you're closest to. The closest WordPress meetups will show up here. So as an example, this is a Divi meetup, but this will not show up on your WordPress dashboard because it's not an official WordPress meetup. However, the Brampton WordPress meetup will show up in here. But I believe there's a link where you can go where you can see every single meetup across the board, whether it's related to WordPress or Divi or Astra or Elementor. I totally don't remember where that link is, but I will find it and put it in the meeting notes. Next, we have at a glance, and that will let you know how many pages and posts are happening on your site. So for me and my website right now, I have 19 pages. It will also tell you what version of WordPress you're using, as well as what theme you're using as well. So how am I doing thus far? Any questions? Nope, we're all good. All good. Cool. Okay, so next up we have activity. And now, because this particular website of mine, it's an informational website, there isn't a blog, there isn't a shop, there isn't anything like that, no one's commenting. There's barely going to be any activity, but if you have a blog or if you have a shop, any notifications that come in for those types of things, anytime when there's external interaction with the things that you post on your WordPress website, they will show up here. So for example, if I had a blog post and someone commented, I will see their comment show up here on the dashboard under the activity box. Or if someone purchased something, I will see that XYZ purchased ABC product for XYZ dollars. So that's what shows up in the activity box over here. Next up, we have Quick Draft, and this will enable you to essentially write a really quick blog post. So maybe you have something on your mind, maybe let's say today's meetup, and then you maybe want to say something inside. When you save it as a draft, it will save this little post as a draft. And if I actually go into the post section, you'll see there's the draft. It's not published yet. That's the blog post. And I can go further in and make changes. So that's what that specific box does, the quick draft box. And if you notice also, it will show you any of the recent drafts that you've created from the dashboard. And last but not least, we have the Yoast SEO posts overview. Again, this website of mine, it's not a blog, so there isn't that much happening on it. I just have a couple of pages. So there's been, actually, if I'm going to be very honest with you, I've not done any SEO work on this website at all. So there's nothing to see, nothing to show. I'll probably log into my business website because there we have some Yoast action happening. But this box over here just lets you know kind of what the scores are for your latest posts and pages, as well as some news from Yoast as well. And finally, this is the site health status box. And this is a very, very new thing. I think it came with like WordPress 5.4. And it tells you the general health of your WordPress website. I personally find that this is something that maybe you should pay attention to, especially if you're not using any type of optimization plugin like Auto Optimize or WP, what is it called? WP Supercache, etc. I think WordPress has really done a good job in trying to synthesize all of those aspects of optimizing your website with the site health status box. So if we actually go into it, it's telling me here that there are 9 items that I should optimize on this particular website. So if I click on it, let's see what it says. So first thing it's telling me is that I have a plugin that needs to be updated. So that's definitely a security issue. So I'm going to update that plugin. It's then telling me 4 different things I could improve. The first one is making sure I have a default theme available. So whenever you have a WordPress website, it's always good to have one of the default WordPress themes installed. So for example, 2020, 2019, 2018, etc. The reason for that is in case there are any issues you're facing with your current theme, you can use that default WordPress theme, the theme where everything should work perfectly, to see if there are any specific problems on your site. So for example, let's say you install a new plugin and it's not particularly working with your theme. If you switch themes to a default WordPress theme, what can then happen is you can see, okay, this plugin, if it's not working correctly on the default WordPress theme, then that means there's an issue with the plugin. However, if it is working with the default theme, then there might be an issue with the theme. So I'll then have to go to the theme developer, maybe Elegant Themes, maybe, I don't know any other theme developers out there, but you may have to go to them to find out what could possibly be wrong. So that's the first one. It's also telling me performance-wise, I should update my PHP. So that's probably something I should take a look at for sure. It's saying again, another performance piece. And notice, this is giving me all these optimization tips without me installing an external plugin. And that's really good because you want to have as few plugins as possible, which number one, keeps the functionality of your website, but also number two, the more plugins you install, for the most part, the slower your site runs. So I think the site health status box that WordPress is now included is quite nice because it tells you some of the things that other external plugins tell you, but it allows you to fix them quite quickly. So it's saying here, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Christina. I didn't want to. I wanted to catch you while you were on that point. I also have that same issue where it's asking for a PHP update, and not really sure because all of my plugins are updated, and I'm not sure exactly how to address that. If you or anyone else seems to know, so I just wanted a few words on that before you moved on.
For sure. So the PHP is actually not handled by WordPress. It's handled by your web host. So who are you hosted with right now, Dina?
I am using, why can't I think of it? I have one of those brain relapses, Liquid Web.
Perfect. So you need to go to Liquid Web and ask them to upgrade your PHP for you. So typically it's like you go into the back end or the cPanel of your hosting provider, and they typically have a PHP section. If you go there, more of the more modern hosting providers allow you to literally just select which version you want. So it's typically something you can handle yourself by simply logging in and going to your cPanel and changing the PHP settings. But if they have good support, you could call them and they can do it for you as well. So it's a very, very simple thing, but you would not do that directly in WordPress. You would do that actually with your hosting provider.
Perfect answer. Thank you. Great technical advice. Thank you, Christina.
Christina,
yeah.
on that same point, is the PHP that's installed? Okay, I have a URL, darly.site, which is the main URL that I use with Host Papa, and under that I've got other websites.
Right.
So if I just get the PHP upgraded to the latest version on darly.site, will that apply to the other websites that I have, the sub websites and the aliases and all that?
It really depends on the hosting provider. So if your hosting provider allows you to extend the PHP across all your domains, you could do that. But it's something you need to double check with them. I know for my hosting provider, I have to set a different PHP level for every single domain name. Okay. And maybe for some of them, you could extend it further. So you'd have to double check with them to see if/when I change my PHP, will that affect all of the sites or just one particular domain?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. Elon, thank you for sharing those links. So everyone, if you want to check when/where a Divi or WordPress meetup is happening anywhere in the world, Alon has kindly pasted the links to that in the chat, so you can go check that out. Cool. And then the last one is a 301/SSL redirect. So essentially it's telling me I need to do some changes on my .ht access file. I have no idea what that means right now, but I will find out and get that sorted. So I really like this new plugin or this new site health check thing, because it makes it very easy to get an overview of what could potentially be wrong with your site without, again, having to install another security plugin or to install another plugin for optimization. So that is an overview of the dashboard. And for me personally, I don't like seeing any of these boxes at all. So I'm just going to go and hide them all. And now we are going to go into looking over at the Divi builder itself. So how did everyone feel about the overview of the dashboard? Dee, how did that go? Was that good? Oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I guess I've sort of gone a little bit further along in terms of what my dashboard shows. I actually have things like, you know, top web pages, top users, screen resolution, top exit pages.
So that sounds a lot like you. Do you have a Google Analytics?
I do.
Get installed? Yeah,
I do. And SEO by Yoast is there, so it gives me top referring domains, top outbound links, top inbound links. So there's quite a lot there. So I'm kind of used to looking at this. I just don't analyze it, don't understand it as much. Some of it is pretty straightforward, like audience overview. It tells me visits, unique IPs, and it gives me a daily breakdown of users through a week, month, etc. So if you know, a lot of people, I know you're saying that there's you know, keeping a very clean dashboard. On the other hand, I've had SEO by Yoast put in, and there's lots of really rich stuff. It's just over my head.
Yeah, that, I mean, I think it's a personal preference. I definitely think for Yoast, let me actually log into a site that I have that actually makes use of Yoast. I don't think Yoast is too heavy though, but that's my personal opinion. But Google Analytics, I think we also have it installed on this site as well. So this is what my company website looks like. So I absolutely dislike this particular Google Analytics plugin, but this is what I use for my Google Analytics. And then I also have like my Yoast box over here with some of my good SEO posts and some of my okay ones. So I think, are you more so talking about breaking down Google Analytics or the WordPress dashboard? Because it sounds like you want a breakdown of Google Analytics.
Yeah, you may be right there that, that I'm a little bit further along in terms of the tools that I have available. However, understanding the tools and making use of it, like when you go into Google Analytics, you know, it requires a fair bit of a learning curve in terms of actually understanding what stats they are talking about. And that's another thing that I haven't really spent, you know, I've got a general knowledge, but I don't have an expertise knowledge enough to do some really specific tweaking.
All right,
Christina,
cool. Yeah.
Christina, that screen that we're looking at right now, what plugin is it that generates that data?
Okay, so it's a combination of two things. Number one, you need to have a Google Analytics account. And the second thing I'm using, this plugin is, I think, by Exact Metrics. So it's called Google Analytics Dashboard for WP. I'm going to put the name into the chat for everybody. And so this is the plugin that I'm using right now for getting my Google Analytics to show on the site. Personally, I don't think it's the best, but I use it because I haven't taken the time out to research other ones. But essentially what you would need to do, and I always recommend this for everybody who's building any type of website, it's really important to know where your traffic is coming from and where it's going to. So whenever you are building your website or building a site out, or you're working on a site, I always say it's very important to create a Google Analytics account and start tracking where your traffic is going from and going to. And to create a Google Analytics account, it's fairly straightforward. If you have a Gmail account, you would simply go to analytics.google.com. And it will take, and then you would essentially create an account, and it uses your Gmail account to log in. But in there, you can see like a whole bunch of what's going on the website in a deeper sense. So for example, we have like the audience, and it breaks down like by demographics, interests, geography, real-time assets, how they come to your site, all of that stuff. But you need to first have, number one, a Google Analytics account. Then you're going to get the code from there and put that into the exact metrics plugin. And then that would show you exactly what's happening on your site over the course of time.
Does Google charge for that
No,
membership?
it's completely free. Yeah.
Thank you.
Always welcome. Always welcome. Okay, so let's take a look at the Divi builder for a second, or actually let's take a moment to pause for a second. How is everybody feeling right now? How are we good? Everyone good? Learning stuff, new stuff? Yeah. Awesome. All right, cool. So I know what, I'm gonna pause for a second. What do you guys want to learn about Divi today? Like, I know there's some people who are in here to what do you guys want to learn about Divi today? I know we have some stuff about, because I feel like, does everybody here know how the builder actually works at this point in time, or do you want to see what it could potentially do?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm actually, when I use the Divi Builder, I like using the traditional layout of boxes and squares to move things around.
Mm-hmm.
When I move forward into the virtual editing, in other words, online editing with the site, I know it's made to seem simpler, but I just don't find it as simple. So maybe you can sort of extrapolate on those two distinctions.
Sure, no problem. So we'll definitely take that into consideration. Anyone else? Anyone? Any questions?
I'm curious about child themes, but that's probably not really about how Divi works. But I did post a question in the comments.
Let me see.
I don't have much luck with the comments. I can't seem to find other people's comments, or when I post mine, they never show up. And not just with your meetup, but with the other meetups I'm part of too. So I did post a question.
So that's fairly simple. It's just about changing. Well, I can actually show you. Give me 1 second. So the question Jim asked was about hiding and showing a page. So when you go to create a page, what you do is over here in the publish box, under status, you click edit and put it as draft, and then click OK, and save draft as opposed to publish. So the reason for that is if you press publish, it makes it live. If you press save draft, only an admin can see it.
So as much as I change it or do anything with it, it won't go out to the internet until I change it from draft to publish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question on follow up what Jim was asking. What about private? Like, there's an option to make it private.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I like to have it live, versus draft. Sometimes I feel like things don't show up right, but I don't want to have it published and everyone see it, while I'm working on it.
Yeah. So private is also an option. I think with private, the only difference between a private and a draft is private is published, but you just need to use, I think, your password, your username and password to log in to actually see it. So that's the difference between a draft and something that's private. Something that's private on WordPress, whether it's a blog post or a page, you can still see it, it's still live, but you need a password to actually view the resource. Whereas if it's a draft, you have to be physically logged in to be able to see it.
I see. Thank you.
And where would that login and password go in order to see a private page?
I think it just will show up. Let's check it out. Let's see what happens. Give me a second. Let's see a page.
Can I make a comment there, Christina?
For sure.
Hi. I find that the most useful times in which I've made a post private is when somebody needs to approve something that I've written. So maybe they need to see what it looks like live. I'll create a custom password for them, and then I'll send it to them. And once they give it a thumbs up, then you switch the status from private to public. That works for me.
And Adam, where do they put in that password? Is it?
You know what I find is in the past, what I'll do is I will send an email, and then I'll include the password right in there and say, let me know what you think. And if it's approved, we'll go live. And that way they feel like it's protected in case there's a mistake that needs to be corrected before.
Okay. So it's a password protected link that you send them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I find, and when it shows up in the blog roll, you'll actually, anybody that comes to the blog roll will see the window there where you can put in a passcode. So
okay.
It's there. It's just not visible unless you say the magic word.
Thanks.
Excellent. Excellent. So on my particular Divi website, this is what a password protected page or post looks like. So it literally says, to view this protected post, please enter the password below. So the password was Divi Brampton, and then I submit. And now I can see the page. So that's how a password protected page would function. But from what I'm seeing here, I think that the way the password protection looks on the site varies depending on how your site looks and functions. So if we're going to do private, I think because we are already logged in, we would be able to still see it. But I think if someone were to browse to it and they weren't logged in, they wouldn't be able to see it. So again, we're going to go to the Brampton Meetup page. Refresh. So we can still see this page, but notice it says private. So I'm going to log out now and navigate back to the same page. And it's as if it doesn't exist. So no password, nothing. This page doesn't exist because it's private. But if I were to log back in now, now this page is available to me. So that is what the difference would be between a password protected page and a private page.
Aki, thanks for asking that. I've been wondering that for a long time myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. That's actually a big point between private, the password protected and private. Yeah. I didn't know about that. Thank you so much.
Oh, always welcome. Always welcome. Okay, well, since we're in the back end of Divi, let's talk about the differences between the wireframe builder, the back-end builder, and the front-end builder. So my brother is like Dina, where my brother wants to have this layout. So this is what I call, I think it's called the wireframe. Yeah, wireframe view. So you're looking at rows and blocks and columns and modules. That's the wireframe view. This is what Divi used to look like, maybe not as cute, but it used to look this way. And essentially, let's break down how the Divi builder works, just for those who aren't familiar. So the way Divi works is you have sections, then you have rows. Within the rows, you have columns, and within the columns, you have 40 plus modules. So that is the foundation of the Divi builder. And what we're looking at right now is the Divi builder. So let's look at this same page from the front end so we can kind of do a parallel between the front and the back. So this is the front end of this exact page. So we have one section, and with this section, we have a full width header module. And notice it spans from edge to edge, meaning it takes up one column. And now if we go over here to the front end of the site, we see the exact same thing. We see a section over here from edge to edge, taking up one column. And notice that there's a purple section and then a blue section. So the purple means that this particular section is full width. So it will stretch from the one edge of the screen to the other edge of the screen. But a regular blue section will only have the content stay within a container. As you notice here, this accordion as an example, it stretches from here to here. It doesn't stretch from all the way over here to all the way over here. And you can actually change the width of your page if you wanted to in the customizer within Divi, or even within the builder itself. So I'll show you both ways on how to do that. So if you go under appearance and then customize, here's where you would set the page width globally, so across the entire website. You would go under, if I remember, general settings and then layout settings, and then here, website content width. So this width over here is, where is it? 1080. But you can change that number so that it's maybe wider or thinner to match with your particular design and with your particular style. And if you wanted to do that on maybe a page by page, section by section, you will simply click on the gear over here, section settings, go under design, under spacing, nope, that's wrong, go under sizing, and automatically it says auto is, it's gonna take the 1080, but if you change this to 100%, it'll make this particular section full width for us. So that's on that front. So that's the difference between a full width section and a regular section. A regular section kind of keeps the content within a container as defined by the customized website content width or the actual settings of the section within the builder. So notice here, we now have a green row. So the row is what holds the various columns, and Divi has multiple different column divisions, and you can access them by clicking on this fourth icon right here. And if you hover over, it will say change column structure. So if we were to highlight that, you'll see all the different column structures that we can have within this particular row. So for example, we could have two halves, and maybe we want to move this accordion here. So we have the text and the call to action on the left-hand side and the accordion on the right-hand side. And if we update that and go to the front end and refresh, we now have one section, which is here. We have one row, which is here, and that row has two columns within it. So that is how you would manage and maneuver around the back end if it were in the wireframe setting. So that is Dee's preferred way of doing it, and that is my brother's preferred way of doing it. But for me personally, I like to use the visual builder on the back end.
Christine,
so yeah.
Just before you leave,
Cool.
in the top section there, the purple indicates a full width section. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then within that, is there a module called a full width header? Because there doesn't seem to be any row there at all.
Yes. So
that's a module.
the full width sections have their own full width modules.
Ah,
so
okay.
You can't use any of the regular Divi modules within a full width section. You can only use these modules within. So there's no columns, there's no rows, it's just the module going from edge to edge of the screen.
Excellent. I never knew that before. Thank you.
Oh, you're always welcome. Always welcome. If there are any other questions, please just call out because I can't see you guys. So please call out. So
Christina, I don't know if you use the layers option. That's
You know what? That's a great question. I
that's
haven't
new.
actually.
And I
haven't
really love, yeah, I love using it because you can
Really?
see the wireframe, but at the same time you see the front end. So I just, yeah, it's this, yeah, but I
This
use
one
it on
here?
the front end and I just click the layers and then I see the wireframe in that little box. And then you can be on the front end and you can just like, yeah, if you go on the front end.
Okay, that's
It's
exciting.
so helpful. I feel like it's so quick. It's so much easier, especially if you have a long page. Sometimes it's hard to tell where you are working at.
Okay,
Yeah, and
so
if you click on the...
let's go to a long page and try it out. To be honest with you, I've never actually used it. I've just been a little bit worried. So let's actually try it out. Okay, so Dina, this is something I didn't even know about at all. So we're on the front end of the website and we're using the front end visual builder. So I'm gonna click on the 3 buttons here, and do you know where it would be on the front end?
Okay, let's see.
Let me see.
Okay, you see on the right, there's like on the,
from the far right.
Oh, there it is.
close,
Here.
yeah, yes, right there, exactly. So now you see this little wireframe and you can open them and close.
Okay. That's interesting.
And at the same time, you're seeing what you're like working with. I don't know. I found it really helpful.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've just discovered that recently too, and it is very helpful. It's a quick way of looking at the structure without having to switch from visual to wireframe.
Exactly.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I remember I saw the announcement when it came out, but I was just kind of like, yeah, you know, I just prefer the visual builder. But this is something I think, you know who does something similar to this? Elementor. Elementor has something very similar to this with their page builder, where you can actually see kind of like the layers. I don't think they call it layers though, but interesting. Thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate that.
Sure.
You just go over how you initiated that layers. It's in the, is it the purple icons? How did you pull that up again?
Yeah, sure. So from the visual builder, once you press on the middle purple button with the 3 dots, it's the second gray button. And it looks like it has like 2 squares on top of each other. But this is from the visual side. But you could also activate it on the back end. We can also access it on the back end by right at the top in the back end. If you're using the back end editor, right at the top, where was it? It's like towards the end of the builder, and it's the second icon. So I'll learn something new today. That's pretty cool.
And those elements are drag and drop if you want to reorder them.
Oh wait, in the layer in here?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay, let's see.
Whoa, look at that.
Okay, hold on. Let's update the page. Go to the front end. So it is.
Yeah, it does everything the same as like the wireframe.
Okay, so it's not just like you can just view it. You can actually move around within there as well. Interesting. So I guess this is where it will be really important to actually name your modules and your sections. So as an example, header section, go with header. I guess that will show up in the layers too. It does. Okay. Huh. I didn't know that. So thank you everybody for teaching me. That's pretty cool. Awesome.
Christina, I agree with taking the time to name the sections and rows and even the modules
as well.
really helps. The more complicated your website gets, the more hard it is to figure out where you are exactly, especially if you're working with the front end screen and you're in the pop-up box for styles and content and that sort of thing, especially the content section. It's hard to remember where you are, but if you've given names to these sections and modules, it really helps for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. Cool. All right. So I think what I want to do now is I want to kind of use everybody's brain power, and Adam has a conundrum for us. So everybody put on your thinking hats. And Adam, is it okay if I'm gonna allow you to share your screen?
Okay.
Wait, is he okay? I thought you were gone just a second.
Can I ask a question first?
For sure.
My question is this Divi Builder you're showing on just a generic WordPress theme or site, or is this a Divi theme?
So I'm using the Divi Builder within the Divi theme. However, it is possible to use the Divi Builder on any theme, as long as it's WordPress.
And it works the same way.
So I've heard. Personally, I've not done that in a very, very long time, but I have heard that it is possible and it works fairly well.
Okay, for a very, very simple theme, and maybe a blog, but not a whole page blog, but a blog that's on another page, but just showing recent posts on each page, just as a sidebar or something. What theme would you recommend?
Always Divi. But I think that's
what Divi theme would you recommend?
Oh, there's okay. So right now, Elegant Themes is trying to phase out all of their other themes. So if you've noticed, if you go into the Elegant Themes backend, they've kind of said, we have all of these themes, you can still use them, but they're approaching end of life. So in all honesty, I would not recommend using any of those themes for a new build. But I would say, depending on the type of site you want to build, either pick Divi or Extra. Now, I haven't had an opportunity to work with Extra, but I do feel that if you are building a magazine or a blog-focused website, you should go with Extra. And if you're trying to build an informational website or something more complex, maybe a membership site or a directory or a forum, maybe then go with Divi.
Well, Divi has something called just simple, like the simplest site. Is that something that's phased out, or is
I think maybe John's asking about layouts, that you can download many different layouts from Divi.
I think
you can
right.
use within the theme.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't actually use any of the layouts that Divi provides. I build everything from scratch. So I just find their layouts very, very complicated. And so I prefer to use like my own modules and my own kind of stuff to put things together. I don't know how to use it.
So what do you start with?
I'll show you. I start off with a very basic, I start off with nothing, honestly. Like the screen I use, like I'll show you a client site I've just started. And this is the start of it. There's nothing there. This is it. And then probably next month, I'll show you what the finished product looks like. But I start with absolutely nothing. The way my process works is I fill out the customizer with my client's brand colors. Then I put in their fonts, and then I lay out the pages and go from there. But I don't actually use any of the themes that Divi creates. I just find them too complex and not, they don't allow enough content to be shown. That's my biggest thing. It's like a client will send a 5-paragraph biography, but the about section or the about page of a specific theme is like 1 paragraph. And if you add all 5 paragraphs, the theme looks ugly. So, yeah.
So I love the concept. I love to go there, but you said it was a Divi theme. Does Divi have an empty theme like that?
No. So what I typically, well, I mean, when you install the Divi theme, it doesn't come with anything.
I think my understanding is that a theme means some of the WordPress features have been modified in a certain way, like the customizer and things like that. They've been Diviized. That's the difference between flat vanilla WordPress and WordPress with the Divi theme installed. Is that there's some additional kind of dashboard features and things, and there's the back end, of course, but it doesn't change the layout that you're provided with. That's something you have to either create or download the layouts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is correct. So, but when you install Divi, typically, if you're installing Divi on a brand new vanilla WordPress installation, you literally have 2 WordPress pages, the sample page and then like the, what's it called? Privacy policy page. So those are the only 2 pages you have, and they're in a plain layout. So when you first install Divi, there's nothing there but this 1 or 2 singular pages. And then it's your onus is on you to either use one of the themes that Divi provides or use the builder to build your own page layouts on a page-by-page basis. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd just like to make a note for those who are starting out, and this may be helpful. I basically went through a lot of the different vertical markets or different companies and organizations that have sites developed specifically for them. And then I went through, and it went through about 50 of them, maybe a little bit more. And then I found one that was the most suitable to the design layout that I wanted. And then I downloaded that theme. And then I sort of worked with that theme to see how things happened, how they did things. I know, Christine, your approach is to start from scratch, but sometimes there's a lot of features that are put in that could be done for you. And just take something that you've already used or has already a market. Let's say you're in a restaurant business, so it's set up for restaurant side of activity. So a lot of the thinking is done for you, and then you can make the relationship and say, well, instead of this, I'll put, instead of their information, I'll put my information in and see how it looks.
That's a good way too. I think you need to start. So once you start, everyone kind of comes up with their own process, whether it's hacking a theme, whether it's starting from scratch, whether it's a combination of both. That's how I've always learned, but I know everyone is different, where it's like, get your hands dirty, like play around with it, make a duplicate page and see how that goes. Or my favorite thing to do, and Adam is aware of this, is create sandboxes. So duplicate the entire site, move it somewhere else, and then play around with it so that you don't touch that main website. So yeah, I'd like to see what you come up with, John.
I think what you just showed me with that draft option does it, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Perfect.
All right, thinking caps on.
Thank you.
You're always welcome. So Adam, yeah, let's see what you got. Do you need me to share the screen with you?
All right. Let me see here. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
All right, and you should be able to go ahead and share.
Great. Thank you guys very much for allowing me to sort of share this with you. The phrase that I used with Christina was that it's kind of a therapy session. You get to sort of talk about what got you here, and then hopefully I can get you all to maybe weigh in on some opinions in terms of where I can go to next. Now, the first image that you see here is a difference between 2 types of image format. I'm going to be really quick about this. There's pixel-based or raster images and vector images. Pixel-based, you take a picture on your phone, you can see all the tiny pixels that make up the image. A vector-based image is mathematical, and it's been around since the dawn of early computer graphic design. Like a lot of other designers, I've had a bucket of these vector images. And about 15 years ago, I decided to package them up and sell them. I started with a website that was all about ringing the dinner bell and making money. And it didn't, I got some sales out of the gates. I thought I was going to be rich. And then reality kind of kicked in. WordPress allowed me to turn the spotlight away from my products and turn it on the people who were actually using vector art. And so I created this brand called Vectorvault. Can everybody see that black screen? Oh, am I?
Yeah, I see it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I
we
just
can.
hope I'm not muted here. Okay. Very quickly, Vectorvault is a 15-year-old brand specializing in vector art. It currently runs on an outdated WordPress theme. And as Christina mentioned, a copy has been placed on a dedicated hosting account or a sandbox. The new theme has been activated with the latest version of WordPress, and the objective is to update the website and integrate products and affiliate programs to generate, that's the wrong word, but basically to turn on the taps. That's the objective. Now, I speak usually in visuals, and so hopefully this will be a really quick way for you guys to visualize what Vectorvault actually is. The foundation is powered by WordPress, and Vectorvault products are located on a separate store connected by a WordPress plugin. So that store runs on a store service called BigCommerce, and they've introduced a plugin that allows WordPress to take products that have already been established and allow me to sell directly within WordPress. Behance is another separate website. It's a community for designers and photographers. They also have an API that allows you to pull content from their portfolio sites and create content for WordPress, which is really helpful for me because, as I mentioned to you, it's all about the artists and it's all about showcasing what they're up to. It also allows me to build a community upon that. Now, another plugin that's been implemented, although not mastered yet, is called BuddyPress. And BuddyPress allows you to expand WordPress into more of a community kind of feel to it. And I'm really excited about learning more about that. Not just inviting people to be a part of something, but also allowing them to contribute to content. I have an established social media network for Vectorvault, and I use Google Analytics to try and siphon in information about what's going on in the store and what's going on throughout the network. I build newsletters using MailChimp, and the MailChimp mailing list is an opt-in service which allows people to say, I'm interested in what Vectorvault stands for, tell me a little bit more about it. And the idea is to try and send out regular newsletters that tell people about artist news, i.e. what people are up to, but also using it for e-commerce to say, take a look at this thing that I can personally sell you, and also take a look at things that I can recommend that I get a small commission off of. And that brings me to the affiliate programs. In this world, there are all kinds of websites that sell stock vectors and stock photography. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Getty Images and iStock and Shutterstock. They're monsters. But they also have their own affiliate programs, which allows smaller fish like me to, in essence, cycle their own products within my content to try and send sales in their direction. Now, along the way, I also created a vector art search engine based on this premise. So these large collections of stock images, and in this case, vector images, you can tap into that. Somebody can type in a search keyword, for example, the word dog, And then all the dog images will come up. And when they click on that, they become my referral. So I got lucky. I purchased vectorsearchengine.com and put a search engine on that site. Then I went and duplicated it and made it specific to photos, and also got lucky, photosearchengine.com. And the last piece of the puzzle is freevectorgraphics.com, which is also a WordPress-based site. There's not a lot there right now. Again, as you can see from this diagram, my brain is in 9 different places. So it's hard to really excel in one particular area. But consumers out there tend to like freebies. They want to find a sample that lures them in for a sale. And so that's the purpose of that particular component. So you can see how each of these pieces all connect to the hub. And although none of them are at 100%, the philosophy is to try and put all these pieces together. Now, this is how the search engines work. You type in a search query like robot. It goes out using the APIs that are provided by stock partners, and they send that information back with returns to say, here are all the images that we found that match the word robot. And if you click on one of those, they become my referral. This is what the current blog looks like. And again, this is a site that's gone through some transitions, but about 10 years ago, I shifted my attention away from this and shifted my attention towards making a client very successful. Now that I finished that relationship, I want to try and direct things back into Vectorvault. And a lot of the old templates and philosophies that I put into this still stand. So this is what the current store looks like. And as I mentioned, the blog and the store are 2 separate things. There are images that you can buy, but there are also printed pieces. So there's physical and digital downloads that I'm trying to kind of figure out along the way. This is what the search engine looks like for vector art. As you can see on the left-hand side, Deposit Photos, Shutterstock, and Fotolia are all affiliates that offer APIs to tap into their products. This is what the photo version of that looks like. And there's a drop-down menu with the potential to expand this into books and prints and clothing and whatever it is that you want to do. This is what vector search, free vector graphics looks like. It's not much to look at, but it's kind of following along the same sort of visual look as Vectorvault, and in essence serves as like a little brother or sister to the bigger machine. This is the new Vectorvault. And Christina was nice enough to sort of hold my hand through a couple of questions. But in essence, what we've been able to do is create a sandbox version of this that we can experiment with. Now, it's not perfect, but as you can see, sort of these tablet tactile graphics that I have created in the past, once updated, they actually work quite well with the newer design. I'm trying to clean things up. I'm also trying to implement a whole bunch of bells and whistles. It's an ongoing process. This is what one of the posts in the blog roll looks like expanded. And rather than put in a bunch of banner advertisements that are supplied to me by an advertising client, I choose to actually create my own so that they're integrated into my brand rather than the other way around. And that's what these tablets serve for me, is that they're attached to a referral link that potentially can make my brand money. This is what the bottom of it looks like. And hopefully these little pictures that are just above the Shutterstock tablet will represent my own products pulled from my own store and displayed within the WordPress content. Now, we're rounding third here. The objectives for me are to A, sync my products from BigCommerce to WordPress, create an embedded checkout, which will allow me to sell within the WordPress structure. I want to integrate affiliate programs, not just the ones that I have, but the ones that I'll apply for in the future. Properly set up BuddyPress. Assess the website for improvement. migrate back to the original location, and then check to see if anything was broken in the process, and ultimately improve it. And that is, in essence, I put this together today for this meeting, and I just kind of wanted to say, like, if I had to explain this to somebody that didn't know anything about this brand, what would I want them to know? And so it's about artists, but it's also about me revamping it so that it can become profitable. And ultimately, one day, my dream is to build the structure to a certain point where I can reach out to a larger brand like Shutterstock and say, I've built you your own newspaper, and it's been alive and well for 15 plus years. Why don't smarter people than me take it and run with it? So there is an exit strategy somewhere in the mix, and that's it.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for the presentation. Can you go back to slide 24? Because I think that, yeah, the points.
Yeah, sorry, one more. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, cool. So,
Adam, wow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I quickly ask, because I have a client coming in a few minutes, so I'm going to have to exit shortly. But Adam, is it possible for you to provide some contact information? I wouldn't mind bending your ear for a couple things.
Sure, I'll send that to you through the same system here.
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So floor is open for everyone to provide input, advice, ask Adam questions. We're just brainstorming here. If anyone knows anything or has any experience, now's the time to kind of share. Floor is completely wide open. Anyone want to go first? Jim, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. My first question that popped in my mind was how would I personally use this website? And let me take a guess at it. If I wanted to add a graphic to my website, I could go to Vectorvault and search for and purchase the graphic, and then I could use it on my website. Is that correct?
Sure. But I will say it with the caveat that vector art tends to appeal to more of a graphic design kind of client. So if somebody, specifically somebody that's really into Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop tends to be the weapon of choice for raster or pixel graphics. But Adobe Illustrator is the one that allows you to work with vectors. And one of the things that I'll say about vectors is that if you take a small photo of something and you blow it up large, you'll see the pixels. But because vectors are mathematical, you can take a logo and you can blow it up on the side of a building and it'll look crystal clear. That's the difference between the two formats. So the kind of person that's looking for vector art, say even for their website, would be somebody that knows how to manipulate it.
I recently heard from somebody that these files are stored as SVGs. Is that correct?
That's one type, yeah. But there's .ai and .eps are the more common ones.
So what I was told was the big advantage of using vector graphics on the website is for responsiveness. No matter how big or small the person might expand the screen they're looking at, whether they're looking at it on a tiny iPhone screen or on a giant monitor, it looks equally good either
You're
way.
right.
And you don't have to do a lot of changing, like in Divi, say, this is the pixel size I want if it's on a phone. This is for a tablet, that sort of thing. That's all eliminated. But on the other hand, I've heard that either Divi or WordPress, I think it's maybe Divi, doesn't handle vector graphics too well. You got to be just some steps you have to take or be careful with it in some way.
They're also they tend to take up less file space depending on the complexity of it. If you imagine like a picture of a circle, you have to have all the pixels that fill that circle, as opposed to the mathematical equation to create a circle. They're much less.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I had some questions. How far did the BigCommerce synchronization go?
I was afraid you were going to ask because it's that's the one thorn in my side right now. Is
Okay.
about 2.5 weeks ago. First of all, I chose my new theme based on the fact that BigCommerce recommended the theme to say this works with our plugin.
What
So I
was the
wanted,
theme, if you could share?
I have it here somewhere. I'll find out for you. But it wasn't anything particularly fancy. I was looking for something that was just really clean, that I could allow the graphics, the content that I've been building to really light up. But I really wanted it to just be pretty simple. The problem is when I tried to sync it, it goes through the full sequence of counting up all of my products, and it gives me a green thumbs up, but then it doesn't bring the products in. So I've been through a lot of support tickets with them to try and figure things out. But what I'm afraid to say is that I think it may involve me going in and editing my product pages on the original store. Now, normally that wouldn't be such a big deal, but there's 1,558 of them, and there's no automatic way to do it. So I'm hoping that somebody far smarter than me is going to come up with a solution to get around that. But once it's in place, I was hoping to have it for today's meeting. I'm really excited to see how can I place products, what does an integrated checkout look like on a WordPress site, and ultimately test it so that it works. It's been a lot of trying to figure out how to make it work, and I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that is really the top priority.
Yeah.
Because even adding the buddy press is a genius idea, because now what will happen is that when people purchase, their profile that they're using can now have their previous purchases, their previous downloads, their billing information. And I'm assuming the sync also allows the information from WordPress to go back to BigCommerce, I'm assuming?
Well, I'm not certain. And I mean, you know what? It's funny is I'm super excited about the possibilities, but until it's actually locked into place, I can't really experiment or speak with any sort of authority. I've got a couple of hopes that it's going to operate a certain way, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
All right. Does anyone here have any experience with BigCommerce?
No.
No BigCommerce.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. BigCommerce is very popular, but I'm still one of the very few brands that sells digital products. It's all like online stores for physical delivery. So I've experimented with that as well, creating vector art in the form of artwork, posters. And that's been successful. Someone's purchased something, I've calculated shipping costs, I've rolled it up in a tube and I've sent it out the door. So that's at least promising. Is I've done a little bit of experimentation with the store itself. I just have yet to make the marriage between WordPress and BigCommerce yet.
Can you clarify the question about BigCommerce? I'm not sure I understand.
It's if you go to BigCommerce, you can actually open up a store where you'll have a dedicated URL, and you can create specific product pages for whatever it is you're selling. In my case, you upload the digital files into a database, and when somebody purchases it, it grabs that zip file and makes it available. Physical products operate differently in the sense that you have to have pictures and information. Once they've made the purchase and the money has made it where it needs to go, then you have the notification to deliver it to a specific place. I guess instead of the olden days where you had to kind of like build your own store yourself, the engine exists somewhere else, and it you can make it look any way you want. I've been with them for a long time. Now my store's not making a lot of money, but I haven't been able to break away from it. I keep saying, eventually I'll come back to it. Well, now that COVID is here, I'm coming back to it. So it's been prompted.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think what I'd recommend, Adam, is I'm going to connect you with Jacques from the Toronto WordPress Meetup and seeing maybe if you can also do this exact same presentation in their meetup to see if anyone has any ideas surrounding the BigCommerce issue, because I really think that everything else will fall into place once that's kind of sorted out.
And you know, in all fairness, today, I think what I was looking for is some camaraderie, maybe even somebody, a group to commiserate with, because when you see the complexity of something like this, just being able to share it with people and have people relatively kind of grasp what you're trying to achieve. I wasn't looking for solutions this afternoon, but it's nice to be able to share it. So thank you.
No worries. And we would love if you could keep on coming. And even for the WordPress one as well, there's always different faces. So, but I think this presentation is great, and I will connect you with Jacques, and I think maybe he would be able to have a bit more insight specifically on the BigCommerce situation. And like I said, I did send a message out to get some more eyes onto this so that, you know, this can be live and a fully functioning machine.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, Adam, I got to say, this is I'm probably at 1% level compared to what you're doing here with my work, but I could feel the same kind of developmental pathos, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Even at the low level I'm at, I run into the same kinds of things where I spend a long time trying to solve a problem, then suddenly it's solved, and I put that problem behind me and I move on to another one. So I get you. I don't have anything to offer because you're miles ahead of me, but I really appreciate your sharing that.
Well, don't let the pretty pictures fool you. This is just what the inside of my head looks like. Just like you, I also have to like encounter puzzles, and some of them are above my pay grade. I've actually reached out to Christine in the past, and she's been very generous with her knowledge. And I hope that goes both ways with anybody else. If there's anything that I can do to contribute, anytime.
Thank you.
I'm kind of in a similar situation, maybe what Jim said, but if I can offer one thing is from me viewing your presentation, what I'm getting. So if you're presenting it to other people who might be helping you, for me, I guess I am kind of confused. Like what is this? Like, so my understanding is this, that you have a couple of websites, that you have this vector art, and now you're trying to make it, you change the theme, make it more successful. And is it that you already tried to sell on some of these, like, you know, Adobe or the other graphic BigCommerce sites, and you're not making money over there, and you're trying to make money by selling it on your own individual website? I guess that's what I'm reading. So by sharing it, I'm sorry being, you know, not understanding, but maybe this will be helpful for you to clarify during different presentation, or, you know, for people who might not understand everything.
And that's fair, because there are a lot of moving pieces to this particular thing. And to answer your questions, yes, I've had certain initiatives that haven't really bore fruit for me. And rather than completely abandon it, I would try something different, or I would try to tweak something else. And because I am a one-man show, sometimes it's very challenging to see what the right answer is. So it's helpful to have somebody just take a fresh look at it. But to answer your question, the current Vectorvault is on an outdated theme. And so it doesn't really look great on mobile, and it doesn't function as well as I wanted it to. So I think a lot of this is just kind of prompted with the technology. I have to catch up to it. And now that I've caught up to it, I've also discovered there are so many incredible tools that only seem to work with the latest and greatest. I have to educate myself on which are the right ones to put in.
Adam, one small suggestion. I might even be wrong here, but this is a PowerPoint presentation. Is that right?
Yeah, I put
Isn't
it
there
together.
isn't there a way to expand it so it fills the full screen?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are seeing here, but let me see if I
I'm
can.
seeing your PowerPoint screen just floating on your desktop, but there's some option that can change the whole thing to full screen so that we're looking just at your presentation and not at the
I
bar
see.
down the side.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if Zoom is kind of limiting the way that I can preview it. And I'm also working with 3 monitors here, so I don't know if it's my end or not.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
anyway, just check into that because I've noticed that with
Sure.
some other people who are using PowerPoint that they're probably wasting screen real estate by having that bar down the left-hand side showing it. Does anybody else know if there's a button you can click on
Well,
in
there
PowerPoint?
is this button down here that I thought might do it. It looks like an expand button, but it doesn't seem to want to. No, but I will look into that. Right, I want to
Yeah.
make sure that if I am presenting this over Zoom, that it's optimized.
Yeah.
Good
I
suggestion.
don't
Thank
know
you.
the answer absolutely, but I've seen this before, and I know I've used PowerPoint on a computer with an overhead projector. I know that there's a way of doing that.
Okay, I'll look into that.
I've
Thank
seen
you.
this before. You've expanded it, but I've worked with 2 monitors when I was down in Florida for many years. And yeah, when you're working with different monitors and video cards, things get messed up. So it might be your computer and not the program. So
It's possible.
I think it looks good.
Thank you.
Ellen, do you have any input for Vectorvault in terms of like what we could do? Any advice with BuddyPress or BigCommerce or anything like that?
Were you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Well, both yourself as well as Elan.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'll just make a comment that I think this this first Divi Brampton thing is just wonderful. I think you've done a great job. I think if Adam has got a really nice presentation. I've learned a lot, and Jim is right. If he feels he's 1%, I'm like a quarter of 1%, and I've learned a lot, and I appreciate all you guys, and thank you very much.
No worries, no worries.
yeah, and I would just say there's a temptation just on some of these that I've sent in on is to try to find something to pick at, and quite frankly, it's a complex subject, and it's both a coding and a almost a logistical challenge with
Yeah.
the resources you're working with. So my hat's off to you for where you are and what you've been able to do.
Thank you.
100%, 100%, 100%. Well,
Christina, I'm sorry. If I can just mention one more thing to Adam. So I've worked a little bit on Illustrator, and I've done actually SVG for my logo because in WordPress, my logo just got all messed up because it's like my name and, a graphic. And whenever you put it, you just would like change shapes and depending on which screen I was looking at. So finally I decided to use SVG, but I had to do the Save SVG plugin because like what Jim said, WordPress, they're saying for security reason and so on, they're not supporting it right now. So you have to get a plugin. And I just feel as a community, maybe like a support for WordPress or something. So they were supporting that, the use of SVGs, vector graphics and so on, some kind of, I don't know, we all should be supporting because I agree with you, what you're saying, that the graphic looks great, right? But it's just not fully supported by WordPress right now. That kind of makes it like a barrier, I guess.
Yeah.
that is true. That is really true. And it is kind of frustrating, especially since you can do so much with SVGs. But yeah, I think that's maybe we could bring that up to WordPress itself. I don't think it's a Divi issue. I think it's specifically a WordPress issue, and maybe they're not thinking far enough ahead as to the power that SVGs could have across the web. I mean, WordPress powers 33% plus of the internet now. So it is definitely very important to be able to utilize things like SVGs and such on the web in a good and stable way. So again, Adam, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope we didn't spend too much time preparing the presentation, but it was awesome. It was
this
really
was therapeutic.
so
I had to kind of explain the problem. I mean, that's another thing too for somebody like myself. I talk in visuals. That's how I explain things. I also need to explain the problem to myself. And so I think that this was a good exercise for me to at least understand all the moving parts. And again, I'm extremely grateful to be able to share it with all of you and to have feedback. So thank you all very much.
No worries, no worries. Well, we went a little bit over, but I think that that's a good thing, personally, as long as nobody had like any like appointments or anything. But I think this was great, especially for our very first meetup. So thank you everyone for coming by. Thank you for being open to hearing everybody's thoughts and to feedback and for spending your time here. So our next meetup, our next Divi meetup, I don't think it will be a site clinic. I think I will maybe do some teaching. So if I will send maybe a poll out later on today to ask everybody kind of what they'd like to learn about next month, and just some dates for everyone. So the next WordPress meetup is on August 26th. And then the following day is August 27th is the Divi meetup. It's just easier for me to remember if they're back to back. So August 26th is the WordPress meetup. I think SEO is a very, very big thing. So we may tackle some SEO principles. Well, actually, so September's meetup will be SEO because next month, August meetup is about themes and page builders. So if you want to learn about different page builders and different themes and learn more about the Divi Builder, that is the upcoming one. And then next month's Divi meetup, I don't know, y'all let me know what you guys want to learn about and we'll take it from there. But thank you everyone so much. You were so kind and enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you are in Canada, have a happy long weekend. Make sure you chill, have a beer, have some barbecue, and stay safe, everyone. Bye for
Thank
now.
you so much.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Christine.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Christine.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.